So I would get up, go to the gym like early, like 5 to 6, be at the desk by 6:30 making calls for apples. And then, around 9 I would go up, she'd make me food. And then I would, whenever, sometimes it would get done at 11, sometimes it would get done at 2 or later. And then I would kind of turn on cuts and just I did that for 2 years, year 0 and year 1. And I think like the deeper you get into something, going from like, you don't know where to start, and, you start being more committed to it. Yeah. And I think like for me, it was like just having that mindset of like, no matter what, this is going to work. You just start to figure out ways to jump over obstacles. And it's just a mindset, really. Like you just have to think to yourself, all right, no matter what happens, this is going to work.
Purpose in the Youth. Purpose in the Youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only, Bobbbaaaay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only, Bobbbaaaay. Today in the studio, Steve Borrelli. What's going on, baby?
Happy to be here. Happy to wrap it up.
A lot of energy coming into this podcast. We've been texting back and forth, DMing each other, just getting fired up. And I was like, yo, this is a big podcast today.
I knew Bobby was my guy when he hit me back. I'm a big voice mesh texter.
Oh yes, yeah.
I hit all my friends with it, and he hit me back. I was like, all right, it's gonna crack today.
I love that you're all fired up. Like, yo, I'm on Bobbbaaaay. I think all you said was Bobbbaaaay. I was like, oh, he's fired up. Like, yeah, you're coming in. We're gonna get this thing rocking and rolling. Man, I already feel good about wearing this t-shirt. Ladies and gentlemen, right before we even fire this up, I took off the shirt on my back to put on Steve's Cuts well, it's not Steve's Cuts, but Steve's Cuts clothing. And this shirt feels great. I'm big on the minimalism. I'm big on basics. I'm big on comfortability. It feels light. It feels durable. You are just coming up on not 2 years. How long are we in the business right now?
2 years. We launched September 27, 2016.
But you said there was some time before that.
About a year and a half of like, getting fabric from Taiwan, figuring out. I call it year 0 and then 0A. So because it was kind of like the moving home process that was part of that, and then 2 years at home, and then now in LA for a year. So it's
you just celebrated. It was September or this September, right?
In a couple, 2 years is not even up yet.
Wow.
Yeah, from the launch date.
How does it feel looking back in the last 2 years since launch?
It's crazy because I think like we've accomplished so much since we launched and got through so many battles, but it gets me excited for the next 2 years. Yeah. Because now it's like the machine is like set in place. Yeah. And now it's like it's scaling time. Like it's like it's time to get buckets.
Yeah. The 2 years was just kind of setting you up. You see what you've been able to do since then. Now it's like, all right, it's game time. I know exactly what I'm doing. Let's get this party rocking. Let's get it rocking.
Like I think in one of my last posts, I was like, we're literally only getting started.
Get ready because we're gonna get into it. Yeah. We'll get into all that. I definitely want to just make sure people know what we're about to get into with Cuts, and I'm really curious to kind of hear some of this backstory of how you've even gotten to this point. Wenatchee, Washington? Is that how you say it?
Wenatchee.
Goddamn, I already messed it up.
I hear everything. Wenatchee. But yeah, it's Wenatchee, which is so I'm from Wenatchee, which is I call it a suburb, but people in Washington would say no way. It's 2 hours away from Seattle, 2.5.
East, right?
Eastern Washington, yeah. Okay.
And what is this place like for young Steven? Are you out running around, running the streets, or?
Wenatchee is a great place to grow up as a kid because there's the Wenatchee River, there's the mountains. It's got 4 strong seasons. It's a small town, but it's a beautiful place. I think at the end of my time there, I was ready to leave. Yeah. But now looking back, having moved back there and lived in San Diego, then moved back, now being in LA, it's a good place for a young guy to grow up. It kind of keeps you sheltered, but it kind of keeps you curious. Yeah. To like see what else is out there. I think that's really helped me.
So were you big in the outdoor stuff because you're growing up near the river and near the mountains? I mean, am I being a stereotype to think that anybody from Washington has to like the outdoors? I don't know.
I think Yeah, I mean, I love snowboarding. I love being out in the river. Nothing like jumping in fresh water. I think I'm probably, there's people that are from there that are definitely more into it.
Yeah.
My business partner, Carter, he's super into the outdoors, and he's like Mr. Outdoors. And his brother, Dakota, who does a lot of photo stuff for me. He's a model. He's super into it.
From Washington as well?
And from Washington. But I'm, I grew up playing basketball, playing baseball, so sports kind of took a lot of my time. But yeah, I would say I'm into the outdoors.
You had a twin sister.
I did have a twin. Wow, Bobby did his research.
I told you, man. I'm not messing around. What's that like growing up? Is this something that you loved? Did you hate it? Did it take time for you to, accept it? Because I'm sitting there thinking, how would it feel if I was born and then find out there's another of me? Is that how did you take that growing up?
I think growing up, I liked it in some ways, but I think I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now.
Yeah.
There was always like, as a kid, you're just naturally being compared to your twin sister.
Yeah.
And so, you're not as mature to brush it off or enjoy her success.
Yeah.
So I think
you got to do better, right?
You got to do better. Like, you don't really know how to go about it as a kid, but I think as a kid, I liked it, but we weren't as close. But now as adults, like, she's my girl. I love her. She's like my best friend. And, I actually look up to her in a lot of ways. She's married with a husband, Ian, and they just got such a good thing going. Yeah. And I love her. I talk to her all the time. We're like best friends. So now I definitely enjoy it.
It's a different relationship.
It's a different relationship
older.
now.
What else do you have any other brothers, sisters?
I have a older sister.
Okay.
And then a younger brother. Both of them I hang out all the time. My older sister, she likes to go out. She's very much like me in that way. And my younger brother, I think all my siblings I have a better relationship with when I'm older. Not that it wasn't good when we were growing up, but I just appreciate the time spent. Whenever I get time with my little brother or my sister, it's special. My brother's a pilot. So
no way.
We always say if Wen cuts crutches one day, he'll be my private
pilot.
Oh,
let's go. Let's go. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
What is he? Does he fly commercial? What does he fly?
He's so he finished school and now he's trying to get his hours. So he's a teacher. He teaches like younger kids to get their single engine pilot.
That's so badass.
So he was in Florida last week. This week he's just getting hours when he can. We'll go up all the time.
Does he ever fly down here to pick you up? Can he do that?
No, he's gonna come down soon, but it just depends on where his routes are.
Yeah.
So like he'll right seat pilot for like private jets.
So badass.
But like he doesn't.
Chris Brown, you need to fly. I got you.
He actually, this big construction guy, he flies. He'll fly to like from here to Burbank and then back, but like in like an hour.
Wow. Touch and go. Just touch and go.
So
that's badass. That's so badass. What do you think? What do you think you're most grateful for about your childhood, looking back on it?
I think my mom and dad for sure. My dad comes. I'm Cuban Italian.
So that's a hell of a mix.
That's a mix.
I knew by the last name I was like he's 100% Italian, but I don't know if there's another little mix into it. But Cuban too, huh?
Yeah. And just like so they both met in New York, moved out to Washington when. I was born in Washington, so right after they moved, me and my twin sister were born, and they were just like super loving, super supportive of everything. My dad's a small business owner, so just growing up, I got to see how he did. He owns a produce company where he sells apples from Washington State to like New York, all over the world, and I think at the time I didn't realize like how much I witnessed of his work ethic that now is instilled in me. And just having that example growing up has been huge. And then my mom's just a sweetheart, always so loving. And I just got a really good support system.
Did he, because he owns a small business, did he get you working for him like early on? Did he like pull you on the weekends when you're just trying to stay in and hang out the homies? Like, nope, you're coming to work with me. You're learning today.
A little bit. So he one of my first job at 14 and 15, I would actually separate good and bad cherries from the orchard. So I would go.
That was the first job, 14, 15?
I had like many jobs. Like, actually my first job was dishwasher, 50 cents.
Wow.
I remember I was in first grade every day before I would do the dishwasher and I'd get 50 cents. And then it kind of got up and I would look forward to it.
Yeah. You're hustling.
I was hustling. Yeah. And I remember like getting to buy and just that, even like little lessons like that, like it really taught you how to make $1.
Yeah.
But then my first real job where like I had to go was 14, 15. shift started at 4:30. I think this is when I became a morning person. 4:30 to 2.
In the morning?
In the morning, because you had to be there early. Like the produce starts early. You
Oh,
get
you're right.
in, check in, wash your hands, and then like start at 5, and just pull good and bad cherries off the line.
Wow.
Like for hours. But it was kind of fun because I did it with my friends, and we would get cash every single day.
So you guys were feeling good.
Like $80 cash at the time.
Yeah.
Which every single day.
Yeah.
So that was, and sometimes you get 100 if you like did a good job, and you would have like cherry fights. Usually did it with a few buddies, and it was
the
like
bad one.
So did that, and then I umpired baseball a lot, and then when I turned 16, I became the manager at Zoomies, which was my kind of intro to retail. And so I kind of got lucky. I was there, and then everyone I was working with was stealing clothes, but I was like just the new guy, so they didn't include me in it. And then everyone got fired. So like, all right, 2 weeks in, you're going to be the manager of the store. So it kind of worked out. And then I got to hire some friends, and I was managing that. So that was kind of like my intro to retail. Kind of had like a quick learning
Retail,
curve.
you learn a lot. I worked for Finish Line for, I think, even just a summer or two. And man, within those 3 months, you learn a lot about customer service and just how to treat people. And then the hours are a little bit differently because you're working a lot on the weekends. And I don't know, you can take a lot away from it. Was there any big takeaways for you from that job position?
I think that's where like I'm a natural, as you are, like a talker. I like to rap with people. Person. But I think that one really taught me how to like treat each individual customer with like how to be good at sales, because you know you can't treat a mom the same way as like a young kid. Like little things like that, I really helped, and it taught me how to be responsible. Like I remember one time I showed up late, and the district manager was there, and it was just a good lesson at such a young age to like, you know, get your shit done. Like this is a job, and like you can be a good person, you can do good work, but like at the end of the day, like you got to do a job. Yeah, it's like you got to be accountable to that job. Yeah, and like they don't care about.
They don't care your excuses.
Yeah, it's like
you need to be there, get it done.
Was the job done?
Yeah.
So that was kind of like one of the big ones I learned then.
Yeah. How would you describe who you were in high school?
LRG all day.
LRG all day.
I think I was definitely, you know, I'm not that tall now. I'm like 6 foot now. But I was really...
Take what you can get, bro.
Yeah.
Some people ain't 6 feet. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
people they want to be our height.
My license says 6'1".
Oh,
and
hey, me too.
I might be
I'll take that one.
I might be borderline 6'1". I think I'm a little below 6'1", but I usually tell. When I wear my Chelseas, I'm 6'1", so that counts. Yeah. But I was, you know, like I had a couple older friends. I wore like big baggy jeans, which is like so like not what I wear now, but like LRG. I played sports. I played basketball, football, and baseball.
3-season athlete, huh?
Well, I played kind of baseball the first 2 years, and then my junior year I played basketball, and then my senior year I ended up playing football, and just
bouncing around, just trying different things.
Yeah, just because like I thought I wanted to be like a college baseball player, but then quickly realized that wasn't gonna work out. And then I always loved basketball the most, and then by junior year I was like, you know what, I got to do it. Yeah. And then my senior year I was like, well, I'm not going to school for basketball. I gotta put the pads on. I gotta see what it's like, you know.
So your senior year, you decided to pad up for the football team.
Yeah.
What position did you play?
I did some punt returning, DB. I think the coaches thought I was gonna be better than I was starting off because I played basketball and I was fast. Yeah. But then, like, it was a lot to learn. Yeah. So I wasn't one of the better ones on the team. I mean, I played, but I wasn't like,
dude, hat off to you. I was not my senior year thinking at all, let me suit up and join the football boys.
It was fun. In hindsight, it was the best thing I ever did because it was just getting that football experience was, you're never going to get that back. So. Yeah.
And it's your senior year too. That whole year is just kind of this whole life is bliss. You're about to move on to the next chapter. Yeah. Let me try something new and get me even more fired up about school. San Diego State University. Be honest with me. Did you go there because the partying? Because I always knew San Diego as like the party school. Like, what was the pull to San Diego State?
So that one was actually kind of funny. I was gung-ho about my buddy Seth Taggy, who I was really close with, went to UW. And then Carter and Sean, who I work with now, they went to Washington State, both a year older than me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go to UW, which was in the city. I thought, I wanted to live in the city. And got denied, or I got put on a wait list, and then I think I ended up getting denied after that. And then when I went to Wazoo, it was just so many of my high school buddies that went there. And I actually accepted to go to Wazoo. And then that winter, my sister was in a basketball tournament at San Diego State. And it was right before deadline to apply to schools. And I was kind of walking around. I was like, this is sick. It's only $50 to apply. So I just kind of applied on a limb.
Oh, wow.
And then, you know, I thought I was going to Wazoo. And then it wasn't until May I got a like late acceptance from San Diego State. And I was like, man, maybe I should think about this. But I had to pay out of state, so it really wasn't an option. And then my sister was graduating from CBU, which is a school in Riverside. And my dad was
East
like,
of LA. East of LA for people that don't know where that is.
Yeah, so it's 2 hours away from LA. And so we were out there, and my dad was like, why don't we just drive down to San Diego State, talk to the counselors, see what's good. I get on campus, and we're like, this is it. We're switching, like, accepted.
Yeah.
But my dad had, like, I remember sitting down at the stairs. He's like, look, we don't have money for you to go out of state. Like, we can pay for an in-state school for you.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're going to have to pay out of state, it's going to be on you. And he was like, he was like, I want you to remember this contract. I think he even wrote an email to me and made me sign it. Like, I'll pay the portion that would be your in-state.
Wow.
But out of state, like, which is 25, 30 grand extra, you know, I'll pay for like the first year, but you know, your sophomore, junior, and senior year.
It's all on you.
It's all on you.
And you still were down to do it.
And I was still down to do it. And then we talked to the counselors, and they're like, the one-way route to do it, you can move down here a month early, get a job on campus, and just, you have to prove that you made enough money in the year to be self-sustaining. So to pay for your in-state, you had to have enough to pay for your in-state going forward for the next year. So that was kind of like the big like risk at that point. But then I decided to do it. And of course I knew there was like partying. Don't get me wrong. I thought it would be a good time. But I'll never forget, I was in the high school parking lot in this beat up old red truck. My dad called me and he goes like, hey, you don't seem that excited about going to Washington State University. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm not really feeling it. And then, you know, I was like, you know what? I have no clue. I mean, I was a Washington boy, only had a few times in California. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to do something different. And I needed a break from like, I had a good image in high school, but I just wanted to start fresh.
Start something new. Hit the refresh button. You're 18. You're 18. You know, you're a whole different person than you were in 14 or growing up in middle school. I think that was the biggest thing for me. I was only going an hour and a half away from where I grew up. Biggest refresher. Nobody knew who I was.
Yeah.
They had no idea. I knew that I could create my own path. But I will say the most stressful process to that first day of school, because 3 months out from when I'm supposed to start college, I didn't get into my dream school. Now I'm looking at a couple schools that I got in, but I was so heart and set on one school that now it became like I was pumped. What sold me was going on a tour visit of this school called LaSalle College outside of Newton. And I went.
Is that in New York?
No, outside of Boston.
In Boston,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I think there is a LaSalle in Philadelphia.
Got it.
But I went to LaSalle, and I just had to see the campus, and I was like, okay, it's a small school, but it's getting me out of my environment. Even though I'm only an hour and a half away,
it's far
enough because now I'm in the metropolitan of Boston. I'm not in that little suburb of Western Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I'm in a whole new ballpark, and the school was right on the transit line getting you into downtown. So it was like I'm all in on that. But I think that's when I think back to, man, I was stressed so much about that whole college getting into the right school. Like the day that I found out I didn't get into Bentley, which was my dream school, which I ended up graduating from. So that's a whole other story. I was walking into the gym and I'm like, fuck it. I was like cranking out the weights. I'm like,
pumping it.
Yeah, I was just pumping. I was so pissed off. And, it's just funny to see how it all full circles, because then I ended up transferring there. I ended up graduating there. And then it ended up showing me and kind of guiding me to where I am today.
Love it.
What else? Talk to me. What else within San Diego State? Like how much did you change within that 4 years?
I think
marketing major too. Correct?
Marketing major.
Yeah, me too.
I think it taught me how to. So like I remember that first, and I use this lesson all the time. It's like I remember that first day I say bye to my parents, and I was like, man, I'm in San Diego. I don't know a single person amongst this campus. I remember I remember literally standing outside my dorm being like, all right, Steven, let's go, baby. You gotta you asked for this, you wanted it, you gotta go for it now. And just having that experience of like, it was such a big thing for me to overcome because I felt like I gotta be who I always thought I was. And sometimes in school, you know, growing up, you got your friends and they just it was good for me just to start fresh. And just that excitement of knowing people was like one of the big things I learned going through. I was in SAE where I met a lot of good connections in there. My freshman year, because I had to work, I had an insane schedule. I was pledging SAE, which, you know, you're busy. And then the only job I could get was 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. 4 times a week because I had to work 20 hours.
Wow.
So I did 3 days during the week and then either Saturday or Sunday. So it was just such a grind because I would get there 4 and just have to be up till 8 a.m. and then go to class and then do pledging where they make you do a bunch of stuff.
And then you're up till probably 1, 2 a.m. the next day. Got to go back to work for that 4 a.m. shift.
It was brutal, but it was also cool because I met everyone in school. I would actually get on. I had this T-Pain app where I would hook it to the speaker, and when girls would walk in from a late night or guys and it was late, I would be like singing to them in T-Pain, and I met a lot of people that way.
They knew you from the T-Pain guy.
The T-Pain guy, yeah, and it made freshman year so fun because when I look back, like that first year was so like special because every day was a new experience, all these new things thrown at me.
Yeah.
I realized how much I love meeting new people. If I don't have a little bit of that in my life, like
you're not enjoying it.
And not enjoying it.
Did you have any idea walking into San Diego State what you might want to do after school?
No, I think I think I wanted to be a lawyer one day. I wanted to do advertising one day. I wanted to be an actor one day. Like I think school I really did was just very curious of trying to, and I think because I didn't know, I was just always asking people like, hey, like, what is this? What is this about? What is this about?
You're just naturally curious about all these different things.
Yeah, and I think that comes from living in a small town.
Because you're not exposed to all that. You're just kind of used to maybe the same careers or the same type of jobs.
And then it kind of forced you to kind of like think like, oh, what would that be like?
Yeah.
So, which is, I think, an important thing for like kids to develop a trait is be curious, because your current, like, your life that you go through is so like, you might only be exposed to certain things.
Yeah. So
like being curious of seeing a show and be like, oh, I wonder what that's like, and having that itch to go figure out what that world is like, I think can be like what separates the winners and losers, because you're just not exposed to enough on a normal like 9 to 5 work way. Yeah,
you got to follow your curiosity and not be afraid to kind of fall down. I think that's maybe one of the I'll never look back on my life and say it's like a regret, but I think I probably should have been a little bit more curious as a kid, and I think sometimes I was interested in certain things and didn't push the envelope because my friends weren't necessarily doing it.
Same.
And that's really more of like the creative stuff. I remember in high school taking like a video class and really enjoying it, but just nobody around me was doing it, so I just never even considered to try it because nobody else was doing it. Why am I going to do it? So I think you have to follow that curiosity and kind of see where it takes you. Totally. So you end up graduating, and then you jump into, I'm going to butcher this name, Lambesis.
So
I'm terrible at pronouncing.
No, that was terrible. Advertising. But before that, I worked sales. I sold women's shoes. So through college at Nordstrom.
Oh, okay. I had seen that, but I didn't know if that was, it didn't say the dates on it. I was like, maybe that was a job he had in college, or I couldn't tell if that was like high school.
Right before but that was a fun job. I learned it kind of zoomies. Then I went to Nordstrom, and I got to learn sales. At the time, that was amazing money. I was buying ridiculous watches before that.
Not moving watches. Not moving watches.
Not at the time. But that was one of the funnest jobs I've ever done, because it was such
Nordstrom.
And we would be like singing in the back room, like me and this black Jamaican guy was a
because you guys get percentages. People need to know
10% off the top. So if you sell $100, you get $10. So
I can see you.
We had a 2-man team.
Oh my!
Like, hey, we were just grooving, and then we started bow tie Sundays, and then the whole store started doing it, and then it was like for a college kid trying to get into sales,
Yeah.
and like learning professionalism and like such a great.
So that was the gap from when you graduated, you did that for a little bit, and
or
then,
my junior and senior year, and then from there I started at Lambesis, which is a advertising agency in San Diego, branding agency in San Diego.
and how did that opportunity come about? Why did you want to work for them? Because it was like a brand development agency, so you kind of already were interested in that branding type world. What pulled you into that company specifically?
I was so in college I could not take standardized tests, and I just knew I had to become friends with my professors. And one of my professors in the marketing, she was the dean of the school, Pro Bet, if you're watching. She just knew me. I was always around. Some teachers I had to beg to give me above a C. And then this class I took twice. It was an advanced stats class, and you needed it to graduate. And I got a C minus 2 straight semesters, and I was about to graduate. And I go to the professor. I said, hey, I walk into her office a couple days after I got the grade, a couple weeks before graduation. I say, look, what do we got to do right now to assure that I'm going to graduate? I gave her an ultimatum, and she goes, I've never had a student give me an ultimatum with their grade. But it turned, because then later that day, we ended up, I had to write a paper, and then she let me pass. But later that day, I was walking in like the teacher's offices, and I run into my old marketing professor, and she's like, hey, this guy, Lambesis, is looking for a student who's just kind of a grinder, you know, who can talk, who's going to be outgoing. And then she introed me to Nick Lambesis, who actually, if have you read the book, The Tipping Point?
Yeah, way back a couple years ago, I think.
He's in that, like the whole Chad Farmer, one of the chapters is based around him.
Wow. Okay.
So I at the time we had to read that book in school. I was like, sign me up, I'm in. Like, well, I'll do it.
What was the big takeaway from the experience? It was about a year, I think you did there.
Yeah, I mean, one, I realized that there's 2 big takeaways, positive and negative. One, I did that job because it was like, amongst all my friends in marketing, it was like the branding agency of San Diego. Like it was like the cream of the crop. They had Sky Vodka at the time. They had Takori. Like,
look great. You're like, sign me up.
I'm like, yeah,
this
I'm
is
in.
the company I need to be with.
And like they gave me my own office with a couch in it overlooking the ocean. Like I had made it when I got there. Wow. I mean, it was the office, like that part of it was cool, but I realized like it was kind of the job. Like I realized it's not what I wanted to do. You didn't make that much money, but I did. The one big take, I learned branding. Like they're big on like the whole omni-channel branding, and I use a lot of the stuff I learned. I mean, they're so detail oriented with, every piece of branding and making it easy for the consumer to indulge and intake that. From that point of view, I think I gained a lot that I might have not realized at the time. But the day-to-day, and then I realized, I was like, that kind of inspired me to do cuts, because I realized I was doing all this marketing for these companies, and I was like, I just got to do it for myself.
Yeah. Did you always have that entrepreneur? Like, did you ever feel that one day you'd want to start your own thing? Or like, how did you come to the decision that it doesn't even have to necessarily be when you decided you were going to launch Cuts, but how did you ever feel that you wanted to become your own entrepreneur? Or did you think you were going to work for somebody else?
I realized at that job, like I couldn't wake up every day and care enough to put my best effort at another company. Yeah. And like I would see it in myself too. Like they would give me a task, and like my heart just wasn't in it. And they actually, a funny story is when I went to Coachella, which is kind of a crazy experience.
So Cali. When was this? Like,
this was 2013.
15? Oh, wow. Okay. Way back.
14. And it was 2014. We went to Coachella, had an amazing time.
I'm sure.
Get back 3 days later, they released, Lambesis, they let go everyone on like this certain team. So me and everyone else got let go.
Oh, wow.
And then that same day I get home and my roommate left. He left all of his stuff and he was gone literally in the same day. And it was like, I'm not a depressing guy. I don't get depressed. Yeah. I get home and I'm like, my world is crashing down.
What am I supposed to do?
But that day I think was the turning point. I was like, kind of another one of those moments like I explained earlier. Like I got to school, I was like, Steven, you're in this situation.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like you just gotta like, no one's gonna help you.
Yeah.
No one's gonna feel sorry for you. You just gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
So then I got let go, and then I bounced around for a few jobs for like 2 years.
Wow.
Did a startup agency, this company called Brochure, which I don't even know if they're still around. I did this real estate company because I wanted to make a lot of money, and
I know that's what everyone thinks. Real estate, you just got to flip houses, make 30 grand a sale, 50 grand a sale.
And it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I don't know if I'm skipping ahead.
You're good. No, you're dancing the line of where I want to go. Because I know that some of the business that I was curious to hear, like what you were just talking about, Brochure and all these other the points leading up to before we get into cuts. Like how did that all kind of happen?
So then one of my good friends, Dash Nation, who's also an entrepreneur, he was working for this company called Brochure right as I got let go, and he was like, "Hey man, we can pay you like, minimum wage, but you can work for a startup. You can kind of see how that's like." And we did this like marketing platform for the travel agency.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to trade shows and sell software essentially. The software was okay at the time. I don't want to speak on it now because I haven't been in it, but it was fun working with him. But again, it wasn't something that was like mine.
Yeah.
And it just like wasn't something I could wake up every day. And then from there, I went to this real estate company, which I think might have been like a con artist thing.
Jesus.
Like, and this was such a good example of like, I learned to go with your gut. I go in there and I meet the guys, and right away I knew there's something up. I couldn't put my finger on it. Just knew something was up.
The energy you didn't feel right.
Did it for 3 weeks. And then I ended up just like having one of those moments. I walked in, I was like, I'm done. I told the guy, I was like, hey, I can't do this.
Wow.
And I was like, and I remember like I went on this hike after I left. So this is my third job now that I'm like, you know what? Like this isn't working. I got to do something different. And then 2, that same time, I've been living in San Diego for 6 years. This was my second year out of school. And I had been in the same, like too much of the same.
Going to the same places, same environment, same people.
Yeah, I almost felt like I felt eerie similar to how I felt my senior year of high school, where like I was going out and having the same conversations with my friends. I was going out and, I just wasn't growing. I was going on the same runs. And I remember waking up one day in my room and being like, I got to do something different. Yeah. Like this ain't working. Like I'm 24 now. Like, it's grind time, you know, like, and I didn't know exactly what. I was like, I gotta change something up.
Yeah. So what was the moment when it kind of clicked, when you were just like, because I know, at least from what I had found, you were kind of like looking for that shirt, the one that would, work for work nights, date nights, kind of the hustle. What was the exact moment when it clicks where you're like, I'm going to start my own thing. I'm going to start Cuts. Do you remember that day or the thing that inspired you to want to start it?
Yeah. So it kind of started when I was working at the marketing agency, and everyone wore like skinny jeans, a nice shirt, nice shoes, and a plain shirt.
Yeah. We're in that transition now where it's like, you don't have to wear suits or even button ups. Now people, I feel like, are just wearing basics like this to work, and it's totally acceptable.
And I saw it over and over, and at the same time, I was wearing a lot of Lululemon, and I was wearing these shirts called the 5-Year Basic.
Yep.
And fell in love with them, absolutely loved them. And I remember one day I gave it to my buddy. I was like, dude, or I was at his beach house. He lived on the beach. We got done at the beach. He threw on my shirt packs. He's like, dude, this is nice. This is real nice. And he was like, oh, but I would never wear Lululemon because my girlfriend would give me a hard time. And I remember at that moment, I was like, maybe there's something here. There's something here. And then at that same time, it was when Movement was about a year or 2 old. Mm-hmm. And
were you familiar with those guys already? Oh, Blake, because you had met Blake at San Diego.
So backstory, Blake Pinsker, Spencer Stumbaugh were really good friends of mine. We went to Miami together. We spent 4 years in school together, lived in the fraternity together. Blake especially was like my first friend at San Diego State. He was my dad's a Yankee fan. His dad's a Yankee fan.
Oh my God.
So we both kind of outrageous.
They loved it. Definitely the same type of energy.
And he
episode 87 of the podcast for the people listening. Blake Pinsker.
He's the man, Blake. I love you, bro. And so at that same time, I was like, man, these kids are like, I remember Blake would call me and be like, "Oh, we're doing like 1,000 a day, 2,000."
Careful with the hint. I don't know if that sounds. I've never heard it before. I gotta tighten these up because I think it's loose. I just like realized, and I was like, I don't know if it's gonna pick up the sound, but okay, I love the energy. I know you're feeling it.
So then I saw Blake. They were starting to make some noise, and this is another just a side lesson. I remember Blake sent me a watch, and I was like, "This watch, it's like, it's not that nice. There's no way they're gonna make it, right?" I remember even saying, I think I might have even said it to him, and then like a year later, the production got better, and the watches became what they are now, and it was just such a good lesson because I got humbled hard.
Yeah,
I got humbled hard, and if anyone's watching, like that lesson, I think was one of the best ones I learned because a lot of times you can see something and think you know better because you heard from some random guy or your sister's friend that something shit. That friend doesn't know anything. Don't listen to them. Like, I got really tried not to form opinions based on like what things I've heard unless I've actually been in it.
Yeah.
And so that one for me was just a good one. And I think, it keeps me like, like humble, and it just, you never want to be that guy. Like people come up to me now and they're like, "Oh, you're doing the clothing business, tough business. I'm like, dude, what business isn't hard? Like, come on, what do you know? Like, you don't know shit. Like, come on." So like Blake, I think that lesson of really like, I like just coming like being, I'm not making sense now. Being able to internalize that I don't know anything is such a good lesson.
And on top of that one, I think it's understanding that you'll never fully understand the vision somebody else has. Like we were just talking about before, how I told you, what I want to do with the podcast next. I still can see things that I can't really describe for you to really feel that same energy that I feel when I wake up. And I'm sure right now, you have an energy every morning when you wake up and you think of cuts and what is to come and what you want to happen. Nobody's going to be able to really understand or feel that. So that's just a moment of same thing with the watch. It's like, I don't know if he's really going to be able to pull this off. And then it happens. And then you get humbled. And then you realize, one, you can bring these visions to life. But two, you're never going to fully understand how passionate somebody is about that product or brand or service until they actually start executing, and then you're like, wow, maybe I should pay attention.
Totally.
But, I mean, there is lessons to be learned in instances like that. You ended up launching a Kickstarter, so that was like 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. You raised $42,000 in a month. That's some good money. Yeah. You're shipping over products to over 20 countries worldwide.
From the Kickstarter.
From the Kickstarter. Why do you think people were buying into your vision? Because there's tons, I'm sure, of brands online, Kickstarter, that they can buy into. Why do you think they were buying into yours?
So I think before the Kickstarter launched, kind of in that grind phase. One story, because I just kind of want to wrap.
That's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about it, dude. Come on.
I was having such a hard time because I didn't know anything. The garment world's kind of crazy, and I was trying to figure out what's this. I was trying to make a slightly different version than the one that Lulu did, and kind of make it our own with special cuts. And I remember randomly finding this fabric that baby clothes was made of. And then I had the Lulu clothes, and I ended up finding a similar supplier that Lulu had, and that was in Taiwan, and they didn't want to make the fabric because they thought it was like not going to work for t-shirts. They didn't believe in my vision. And so they kept giving me a different fabric. And so then I had to chop up. What I did was I chopped up a bunch of different fabrics, and I had like the one that was closest to the Lulu one marked.
Jeez. So you're going through all these hoops and phases just to get to the right one.
Just to get to the right one. And then when I gave it to them, they ended up saying, "All right, we'll do this for shirts," because they didn't believe in the vision, and I wanted to kind of confuse them a little bit with showing them ones that I knew I wasn't going to choose. So it was kind of just like you had to jump through so many hoops to get to, because people just don't, kind of like what we just said, people don't believe in the vision.
Yeah.
So that was kind of just like one of the grind phases.
So you didn't even start the Kickstarter, which makes sense, until you finally had those right. It took a year to finally have together that first line, or at least the products that you were ready to present to people.
Yeah. And in that, but first I left San Diego, and then I started working for my dad to kind of pay the bills. And from that job, I learned so much. I learned like sales. I'm selling fruit. And
so you were kind of back into that first job area that you had started, but now at a different level.
Yeah.
You were doing like more of like corporate or something like that.
Kind of. It's still very small business, but it's, it's produce. And so I was selling produce online or not to people in New York. Meanwhile, every night for a whole, because that year, I think that's when the money's made. Like I a lot of times that year of moving home, of thinking and concepting the idea is it gets lost, but that's when no one believes in you. Yeah. Like people used to tell me the name Cuts when I would tell them about it was like a barbecue company or a haircut stylist. So I was like, no, like it's going to be Cuts. And it makes so much sense. Like, trust me, you just can't see it right now. Yeah. And like, that's when like the CEO training happens because you got to go against everyone. Like people in the manufacturing world would look at me like you're crazy. They wouldn't answer my timelines. Like that's when I learned not to put up with people's shit, come in hot. If people fuck with me, I'm going to go right back at them because I would get walked over. Yeah. There's like that year to me of moving home, saying, hey, I'm going to go for it. Yeah. And like every night I would be in bed in my parents' house with this company Cuts I was going to start. I would be looking at the ceiling and the lights would be off. I was like, I'm not going to be that kid that's going home to start a t-shirt company. Like that was my reality. I was the kid that was going home in my head to start a t-shirt company. Yeah. And it drove me. I was like, it's going to work. Yeah. Hella high water. This, sorry, I'm banging. No,
I love it.
This will work. Yeah. And, I mean, you can ask my mom and dad. I mean, it was like I would work from 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 9 selling apples to 11, and then 11 to however late at night just working on Cuts every single day. And that's when I went from the guy who says he likes to grind to the guy that actually grinds. Yeah. And now I can spot people. Like right when I saw you, I was like, this guy, he's me. Yeah. He's me. He gets it. He raps with me. And I have a bullshit radar. My bullshit radar is much better now because of that face.
I'm so good at picking it out. But one thing I want to go off of too is I had that same type of moment where I went home after I graduated school and it was just like I was back to working that same job, the first job I ever had. And it was such I'm like, I'm that kid who moved back home to start a podcast that nobody has a clue what even a podcast is. And I have no idea where it's going to take me. My parents were like, thankfully, very supportive and said, you have college loans, you're going to have to pay for that. But if you can find a way, we support you. But man, those were those tough months, just like tough. You really got to believe in yourself. All your other homies are out. They got full-time jobs. They're out on the weekends doing this, doing that. And you don't have a job. You are thinking about starting something. It's so much. It's so easy to just talk about it now. But when I think back to that kid who I was, like being lost, but still being super confident that I could execute on the dream and execute on the vision. It's like one of those moments where I now can kind of just use that to fuel me and know, like, if I could do that and get to where I'm at today, where am I going to be at 2 years from now? Because it's only going to get better.
It's scary.
It's very scary.
Like, you can do it. And I think that's where, like, experience, like kids growing, like for kids in high school and in college, like, oh, I want to do a job to get experience. But when I always challenge them, I'm like, well, what experience is that exactly? Mm-hmm. Is it you're getting experience in a big company where you're like filing, like, is that the experience you want? Yeah. Like if you go into a job to just get experience, just to put it on a resume, that's all you're going to get. Because I was one of those. I would do these jobs to get experience versus now it's like if you're going to do something, understand what you're going to do and make sure that experience is actually really going to be able to help you. Yeah. Moving forward, like my experience in the garment world after a year, like I learned, we've lost thousands of dollars. Like now I know how to, like, things to avoid. That's real experience that's going to help me. Not shoveling some paper in a filing cabinet or doing a mundane task. Like that's not going to help you.
I know. And that's the tough thing is that so many people are telling you when you're about to graduate, just get a job, just get some experience for a year and then transfer something else. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to just waste a year because that's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. That it's going to look good that I have a year under my belt and that I graduated and I worked for a little bit. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But so many people, that's what they feel is the only route that they can go. And it's like, nah, you don't have to do that. You can find you could find other things to kind of do. There was a quote I had read through one of your Instagram posts, and it said, and you kind of were just going off it, but I just want to dig a little bit deeper. Yeah. You said, many lessons learned so far, from not knowing where to start to having so much to do that I can't sleep. What got you from that point A to point B? Because I remember that phase too in my life where it's like, I don't even know how to start, but now it's, I don't even have enough time. I need more time in the day, you know? What was it in that time span do you think got you to this point?
I think one of the big things that I still do now is I try to simplify it. So like, I try to make each day all I did was one thing, because like literally all I would do is one thing. But if you look, there's 30 things in a month that you can get done, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. So like I would work on the logo one day in the beginning. You know, I would talk to someone where I could start production in one day.
Especially because you're also working full-time at the time.
Full-time,
so that's a great way to look at it, because you already have a full-time job. You have maybe 5-6 hours a day after that to work on it. Let's just do one task.
Just one task. And I think too, being home at that time, which was, you know, I moved back home. I didn't have as many friends. There was not someone's birthday I had to go to. There wasn't, friends asking me to go out.
Yeah.
So I was really like, I look at it like a startup incubator. My mom, she knew how hard I was working. She would make me breakfast. I'd be working from 6 to 9. My dad's office is walkable to where we live.
Yeah.
So I would get up, go to the gym like early, like 5 to 6, be at the desk by 6:30 making calls for apples. And then, you know, around 9, I would go up, she'd make me food. And then I would, you know, sometimes it would get done at 11, sometimes it would get done at 2 or later. And then I would kind of turn on cuts and just I did that for 2 years, year 0 and year 1. And I think like the deeper you get into something, going from like, you know, you don't know where to start, and, you know, you start being more committed to it.
Yeah.
And I think, like for me, it was like just having that mindset of like, no matter what, this is gonna work. You just start to figure out ways to jump over obstacles. And it's just a mindset, really. Yeah. Like you just have to think to yourself, all right, no matter what happens, this is gonna work.
And I think too, it just becomes like a domino process, because once you can get one to go, and then it keeps going, and then that's what just keeps the fire moving, because now things are actually starting to motion. Now I have a logo. Now I have the name. Now I have a website. Now I figured out my email. Then it's like, wow, I'm starting to make this idea into something that's tangible, something that people can actually go and look at, and then you kind of just keep running.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps. I like each way along the way, there's just like little wins. Like that first time I got to put it on, I was like, all right, let's go, you know?
Yeah. Let's go.
You know? Just little things like that. And then I kind of going into the Kickstarter, I remember that morning, all this work, a year and a half, moved home. You know, my reputation's online. I did Facebook Lives, prepping everyone, worked so hard on the page. And then I remember my parents were out of town this day. I remember my parents got a pool, and I was walking around the pool, pacing at like 4 a.m.
The website launched
or the Kickstarter. Kickstarter was about to launch at 7:30. At 4:30 to 7:30, I'm just pacing, sweating, pacing. And then right as I go to press like go live, I felt like I blacked out. I blacked out. I'm like, I can't believe this is going live. Like this is all like in my head. Like no one's gonna buy it. I'm gonna have to get a job. Wasted time. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And then, but what I did was I remember the year up. I'm a big phone call guy. I'm a huge phone call guy. So I would just call all my friends and just tell them what I'm doing. Friends and family, tell them what I'm doing. And then I think people start to see like, hey, I'm really trying.
Yeah.
And I started this cut starter group. So I had 100 people that I had called. I had like a cadence, because in apples, when you sell apples, you can't just sell it on the first one. You have to call them. There's like a cadence to sales. So I treated just 100 people on Kickstarter that way. So I called them 3 different times throughout 3 months to chat, see how they're doing, see how I'm doing. And I called them, you know, every you know, at least 3 times before the Kickstarter went live. And I told everyone, hey, get on at 7:31 on September 27, 2016, and just go on and share it on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I didn't ask for money and just share it.
Yeah.
And then right away we had like 12K like within 5 minutes.
12K within 5 minutes?
Yeah. And I was like pumping.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I was like, let's go. Come on, baby. Come on.
Shirts coming off.
Shirts coming off. And then it started like, then within like my own friend group, it became like the popular thing to do.
Yeah.
Like it was like, hey, like you got to share this. You want to be a part of the train.
Yeah.
And then we got front page of Kickstarter of the fashion section. And then that kind of gave us the boost.
Was that because it was moving so quick? Do they just like an algorithm? Did you have a
something like that? Yeah. We kind of like told the algorithm, hey, this company's like something. Yeah. You know, and we had a sick video. CJ Capes.
I saw the video. It was pretty epic. I was like, damn, I would have if I knew about that, I would have been dishing out the money too. It's like that. It was. You could tell that there was a vision that this wasn't
four takes. $10,000. Just that's a whole nother story. I don't know if we want to get into it, but we wasted so much money on that video, but it worked out good. We scrapped a 10K video and then we had someone else do it a month before, after the date was already set, and we did it with $1,000. Brennan, who now works with Cuts, does a lot of the marketing. He gave it to me straight. He's like, the old video sucks. Yeah. We did it in one weekend during a party weekend during Labor Day weekend.
I was wondering, was that the
rooftop?
Part? Was that? Did you guys set that up, or was that actually a party?
That was actually a party.
Oh, that's
and we
epic.
gave all of our shirts.
That's
and we snuck into like the Ondas Hotel in San Diego and just filmed like the party scene. Oh, like got all this amazing B-roll. And so it kind of that video came together like in a week and a half. Wow. And we had scrapped a 10K video that I took all my savings to do.
Dumped it in.
And dumped it.
Wow. I mean, sometimes you just got to go with the flow and just run with the opportunity. If you got a rooftop and you can spread out some free T-shirts or shirts, just.
And I had 50, and I was like, I remember like trying to save some, and then when I got there, I was like, you know what? We got all the content we need. I need everyone in them right now.
Get everybody to wear this. Get everybody to wear this. The production process. What's been the biggest struggle that you have faced? I know we talked about finding the fabric. I'm guessing you're now at a point where you kind of know the right colors, you know the right buttons you want to use. What for you has been the toughest part of this entire process?
So, trusting manufacturing. So we launched Kickstarter, and then we had $42,000, but we had all these SKUs we had to produce, and I wasn't aware of the minimums that you have to do. Yeah. So, and with we have 12 styles, but then we have different cuts, and it with
hence the name, ladies and gentlemen. Hence the name.
And then with all the colors, it was like 600 SKUs, and so we ended up being like, I think like we needed $120,000 and we had 42, and then so we cut some of the SKUs back, and I think we got it to like 80. So I was 40K out from being able to deliver what people had bought. Wow. And so I had to do 0%. I only recommend this if you believe you can sell. We did 0% credit cards. I got one, and my partner Carter got one, and we both took a 20K out, charged it hard, and then I was working, so I was able to pay that first.
At least the minimums or whatever.
Yeah, I could pay the minimums on it, and then I ended up paying it off.
How did that feel?
It was another one of those moments, like I call them farm bets, and we still do it to this day. Every cash we got in the bank, we'll have big days. We call them farm bets. You gotta, because we haven't taken any investment. Yeah. And so any money we have, we buy inventory, and then we use credit cards to sell it, and the credit cards get paid off daily because you're an e-com, so it works that way. Yeah. So now our credit cards, I think we have like $500,000 that are like on my personal name right now.
We're just running the card.
But now we have a good way to sell them. But back then it was like super scary. So then, and I think you saw it in one of my vlogs, we're with this shitty manufacturer. Yeah. And I didn't know it at the time. And we go to make the production order. We give him the SKUs. Every week he's calling me. We launched September 27th. You get the money in November. It takes like a month and a half. And we said, hey, we'll deliver them in late January, February. I fly down to LA, and I staying at my buddy who I'm living with now, Ethan Frame, who also works at Movement. I'm sleeping on his couch. I go to the factory to pick up the stuff. I see the fabric sitting there. The shirts aren't even cut. And the guy told me on the phone when I was in Seattle, the shirts are almost done. He's like, oh yeah, they'll be done. So I'm like, all right, I need you to start. He starts, I see him move. I fly back to Seattle. 2 weeks later, I'm like, hey, are we ready? You know, I was doing the vlogs at the time, so I wanted to get it being packed. Get there, nothing's done. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy just landed in my face. So I'm like, he doesn't know who he's messing with. Yeah. I bring my computer, I bring my stuff. I'm like, I'm going to sit in this factory until every freaking shirt's done.
You set up shop, right?
I set up shop, and then he starts moving.
Wow.
He starts moving. And then another battle. So then I'm like, all right, I better QC this right before we put these in the bags.
Yeah.
I go through, and you saw it, that one where they're like all the shirts are piled up before they get in bags. I start trying them on. All the larges are labeled as mediums, and all the mediums are large as XLs, and the smalls are like, it was out and nuts. So I start freaking out. I'm like, my buddy Alex McCarthy comes down because I wanted to give him a shirt, and we realized it together. And I'm like, so then right there I had to organize everything, get him rebagged. It could have been a nightmare. And so that process, it was such a good thing for me to learn from a production standpoint, because I learned what the worst factory, like, it was off Martin Luther King Boulevard in the hood. In hindsight, it was not a good area for
but you just needed anybody that would do it, and probably at the cheapest rate or whatever. You just needed to get it done.
And it was a nightmare. And what ended up being some bad news was we shipped out, I'll show you a picture afterwards. There was a Henley sideways, and we shipped out, no joke, we shipped out like 700 Henleys sideways.
Like this was over here?
Yeah.
700?
And we got pictures of like, hey, what happened? And so, like, one of the lessons I learned there was you're going to make mistakes in production. And at the time, 700 shirts felt like the company was over. Yeah. But now per day, sometimes we're selling more than that. Oh my God. So
how did you react to that though? To that 700? Like, how did you make sure that those customers weren't pissed off? Did you do anything to make sure that they were going to come back again? Because I feel like that's a make or break sometimes.
I called them. I called anyone who complained. Wow. And to this day, I still try to do 20 to 40 calls a day where I'm just calling random people that buy, hey, what's up? This is the founder of Cuts. I just want to check in, saying what up.
Wow.
And I think that has like a long-term effect. Yeah. It's not scalable, but it's, and some
just
people.
One here and there when you can do it.
Yeah.
It's got to make all the difference, I feel like.
So
are you against investors? I know you mentioned that. Are you open to the idea? Does it just not make sense because everything's going in the right path, or?
I think,
because we're looking at movement, big 100
mil.
Let's
go. I'm so close with those guys and Brandon and a lot of people that have taken money. I love it. But yeah, I'm not against it. No, I think this fall is going to be so big for us that I don't know what I'm giving away. So, and two, it's like every time I'm like, damn, we need money. There's another moment for me to be like, let's go, let's figure it out. And I've seen other businesses use money and they'll just throw money at it and it ends up not working.
Yeah. And too much money coming in, then it's just like you're not looking at that dollar bill anymore because it's not your own money. You're like, oh, we have money to burn. Let's just try all this shit and see what works. I think
trying stuff when you have money can be a powerful tool for faster growth. But this is just a funny example. I offered my professor 10% for $100,000 in the beginning, and now that evaluation, that would have been such a low evaluation for like less than a year later. Yeah. So I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, like in 2 years from now, the evaluation I'm going to get today, I might be like, that's garbage. Yeah. So
you have to stick to your guns.
I have to stick to our guns.
Play the long play.
So I think that I always say if someone's going to give us money because we're profitable and we're growing almost 100% per month, that it would have to be so in our favor, and they believe in me, Stephen Borrelli, first, that they're going to give me exactly what I want, how I want it. And so if that investor came up, I would talk about it, but we hold the cards.
Yeah, and I would imagine too, based on your personality, you want it to be somebody that you actually have a good relationship with. You're not going to just take from Joe Schmo. Exactly. Even if they offer you $100 million, you want somebody that that has that type of energy, that believes in the product, that believes in you, that kind of, I don't know, that's the same way I am. I always feel like I just want to be connected. I only want to speak to on the podcast, and I only want to be around the people that I could co-sign or that I genuinely like the energy, because I remember as a kid growing up, it was like one of my buddy's fathers would always say, if you're around trouble, you're in trouble. And the same thing goes to like, if you surround yourself with wrong energy people, you're going to have wrong energy. If you surround yourself with passionate, fired up people, what's going to happen to you? You're going to get that. You're going to get that rub off. Exactly. Kind of going back, I know we had talked about early on the YouTube series you had started out. You kind of were documenting the journey. What's stopping you from starting it back up again?
So I absolutely loved it. And looking back, like that was such
at least you got it in the beginning. Like even there was 10 vlogs maybe?
10 vlogs, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's at least it's something. But what's stopping you from taking that? And for people that are listening, it was pretty much you documenting the process. You're going out to the factories.
Yeah.
I remember one woman's like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "Oh, it's just my vlog." And he's like, "I'll turn it off." And then he like turned it off. I was like, "This guy is a character."
It was what's stopping me from doing it now? I think just time. Like now I have like a team, and I feel like I don't have enough attention to give them.
But how about this? You get a vlogger to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody that out
You're
there
right.
in the streets. Like that's exactly what's happening right here.
That guy, you available?
I have a BTS to shoot this because I don't want to worry about the camera. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I think very soon I want to start doing it. Because I think we have we're still such a new company growing fast. It'd be cool to let people in, what's that like.
Yeah.
Starting a business. I think long term, that's something that I really want to do is show people. I think I got the skill for it.
But you got the energy for it too. You know what I mean? Like it seems like that natural. Just from the vlogs I saw, I was like, this guy is. And I told you before we fired up the pod, like this guy's a natural high energy when the camera's rolling. I'm in it. You know what I mean? Like that's what's probably so natural for you is actually kind of like a given talent because a lot of people, they get kind of awkwarded out or they don't really know what to do. But I always think a lot of that social media, the behind the scenes, just helps build on brand for what you're doing. And I feel like it helps out.
On that note, I think like what makes Cut so great right now is, we market and we sell to people like us. So I remember when after the mistakes came out, I was like, you know what? I can't release something unless it's something I am gung-ho about myself that I can wear every day and be so proud to tell people.
Yeah.
And so that's bringing back the vlogs. I think it could be big because it would show people, hey, we're you.
Yeah.
We're servicing you.
Yeah.
Like you're us.
Yeah.
Like, and let them in on that.
We're not sitting up in the Hollywood Hills with our feet kicked back.
Yeah.
Drinking mimosas every morning. We're actually out there early mornings in the gym. Yeah. We're doing, people are going to see it and be like,
and we really know what they want, because it's us.
Yeah.
And I think that's our competitive advantage on, someone that knows that selling shirts is a good market is like, I always tell my team this. I was like, someone could take these shirts and remake them if they wanted to. But what they couldn't remake is the people in this room.
Yes.
They can and I'll bet on that 10 out of 10 times. Yeah. Like, and I think that's what fuels me because in the clothing space,
give away the secrets. Tell people exactly.
Come at me. You're not me. You're not Stephen Borrelli. You can't remake this. No. I'll take that to the bank. Let's go.
No, you can give away the secrets. They're not going to be able to.
And then like what you said in the podcast is like that vision of where we want to go.
They don't see that.
Like someone could buy Cuts today or remake it but they don't have like what's up here.
Yeah.
And I think that's our competitive advantage, and especially when something, is something like clothing where it's all brand.
Yeah. How many of the team? I know you said team a couple times. How many of the?
We have 4 guys, and then we have an intern.
Nice.
In Florida.
Nice. So you got that real nice tight knit. That's what you need for that e-commerce life. You don't
need
small
team.
Keep it nice and lean. Talk to me about how this partnership and relationship with Matt Komo came about.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So he kind of through the movement.
Videographer for people that are listening.
Yeah, Komo's my guy. We look for people that are young, who have style too. Like looking good and that working professional is like a new genre of clothing that we want to like spearhead, where it's like versatile to. Working every day, but it looks good to go out, take your girlfriend out. And Komo's kind of that guy that is very much a, he works hard. He's a grinder, shoots amazing content, has style. And, his
How old is he?
I think he's 24,
wow,
24,
okay.
25.
Yeah.
And he's just extremely talented. So I met him through Blake.
Yep.
And Blake hit me up and said, hey, this guy could be like the face of Cuts one day. And so we just kind of started chatting, started sending him shirts, and then we worked this deal where he was going to make a video and post it on his story. And it was just very organic with him. And I think like for us, that was most important for me. Is where it was just going to be someone that actually loves the shirts, that wears them all the time. That's a friend of mine that is just natural in his and how he wears the shirts, and it fits. It fits
well. But I think what people need to take away from that is that it takes time to build these relationships. And even like what you were saying earlier about how you would reach out to people, you call them up and check in with them 3 times before you asked, could you share it on Facebook or whatever. It's the same thing with building the relationships with the people that you might want something from them, but you can't just immediately off rip ask for it, because you need to take the time, nourish it, marinate the relationship, let it build. Because then by the time you guys sat down to probably do that deal,
6-7 months later, you
guys are homies. You guys are homies. You guys are sitting down like, let's make some money together. Let's make something happen here. There's clearly 2 things we bring to the table. I got clothes. You have content. Let's make something work, and then you both can make something from it. But I think a lot of people overstep quickly. And then once they do that, it's so much harder to backtrack, because somebody's like, this dude just wants to make money off of me. They're not doing it for the actual relationship.
And on that same note, it's crazy. Like you should let things happen naturally. When it comes to like our team, each team member came naturally. And I remember right after the Kickstarter, I had all these orders, and I didn't know how to. I remember I was like trying to do it by notes. And then one of my buddies kind of believed in me and the vision, Carter. He was a CPA working at a hospital, and he was like, hey, I love what you're doing. Let me just help you. And that was such a good example for me. Was he brought structure to the business where it didn't have it, and he found me, and it was just so organic, and he proved his value first before he asked for anything. And then same with Sean, who does the supply chain. He works at Boeing, and he deals with way harder equations than t-shirts. And just, now that we're getting overseas production and we have fabric coming in from all over, it's a lot to handle. And so he spearheads that. And then also Brennan, who does a lot of our content, he is, really good with photography. And I remember he said in the beginning, before, we started paying him or anything like that, like he said, hey, just abuse me for photography. I just want to help because I believe in you. And probably one of the coolest letters I ever got was our intern in Florida. I still have never met him. His name is Chance Riley. Chance, I love you, bro.
Chance.
He emails me. This is when I was doing my vlogs, because of the vlogs.
Wow.
He sends me this incredible email like, hey, I believe in your vision. I don't want anything. I just want to be a part of it. I want to help. And I have it framed in my office at WeWork, because I almost like started tearing up, because he got it, he understood it, and he wanted to be a part of it. And all these scenarios of how people kind of came into the business were just such a great lesson for anyone, watching and with the Komo is, you have to let people find each other in life. If you're really committed to something, and you give it your all, people are gonna want to be a part of it. And they're gonna want to believe in it. So like, if you're by yourself and you're working towards something, just continue to give it your all, because eventually there's gonna be people that are gonna respect it and want to be a part of it.
And they're gonna take the initial steps to want to be part of it, and they're gonna reach out to you and say, hey, what can I do, like he did? What can I do to be part of this? Because I think I can bring something to the table, and let's see how we can both partner for this.
And it'll be quality work too, because they'll recognize, they'll provide, they'll know that, like right now we're in this stage, each person has to, like each person, a lot of people have other jobs and things like that. It's hard, you know? So they're doing it because they believe in it, and it just creates such good synergy.
When somebody's passionate about the product or the service, kind of going back to what I told you, I didn't want to apply for a job unless it was a product I believed in or a company that I believed in. That's because you work harder and you enjoy it because you actually believe in what you're creating. You don't mind putting in. I think I had seen on Sunday last weekend. Was it Labor Day last weekend? Sunday, you were in that Marina Del Rey. You post on Instagram. I said, I love this guy. I liked it. I was like, let's go. Like he's putting in the hours. It's time just becomes another. I don't know. You just get into the momentum of. You love what you do. You know what you need to do, and it's knocking down that one task a day and seeing where else you can go. You've got the shirts right now. What do you want to see happen with Cuts moving forward? Is there other products you want to step into? what's kind of in the back of your mind about what could potentially be the next big thing for you guys?
I think for us, Brandon Cohen, one of the last episodes, we were in the car the other day and we were at this marketing event, and I had all these ideas about, doing joggers, doing sweatshirts, doing like kind of diversifying. And then it was kind of right around the time the Movement acquisition came, and me and him were just kind of talking about it. And I think it was kind of a defining moment of where I wanted to take cuts, because I had all these ideas of we could do, because this is considered soft goods, about doing things that that could complement the shirt. But then after we got talking, where we have to dominate is we have to be the best t-shirt company in the world, and we haven't even scratched that surface. Yeah. So we could get into lots of more things within the t-shirt space. And if you look at companies that have been acquired, they do one thing really great. Yeah. Like don't just get side distracted by anything They do else. Watches. Movement does watches. Yeah. And there's examples throughout lots of different acquisitions that they did one thing great. Converse. We want to be the Converse of shirts. Yeah. Have maybe different fabrics. Have more cuts. Yeah. And really kill it in that space. Yeah. And just put a shirt on every guy's back. Yeah. Like, and that's why I think how we'll win.
It's the only shirt worth wearing, right?
Hell yeah.
It's the only shirt worth wearing. Yeah. Do you see possibly maybe a female line at some point?
That would be the next big one. Yep.
Yeah.
And doing a female line where and that would be fun too. Like getting on. We actually had this girl who was like this influencer recently, and it did really well, the photo, and we're like, hey, like maybe this could be
something. This could be a little taste of what could come if we want to dance in this line.
Yeah.
If you had to recite one sentence to yourself every morning when you woke up, what would you say?
Figure it out. So on that line, each year I have a theme. Year 0 was just start.
Okay. I got a feeling this year's let's go. Let's go.
The brainstorm session's happening for 2019, but just start was year 1. Figure it out was year 2. Year 3 was all in. So getting the team like all in, like we're going to all become full-time soon. By the end of 2018, this process has started. We got 2 guys full-time now. We need 2 more full-time by the end of the year. Yeah. So we're close. We're going to accomplish it. And then year like the next year 1 is really like year 0, but I'm calling it year 1. Yeah. And then next year is to be determined, but it might be build, scale, / let's go.
Let's go. Figure it out though. That's what I
like it, because I think where like Brandon, Blake, Jake, some of the guys that like I'm around, everyone has this mindset of like they're just gonna get it done. You know what? Like after a while, you don't need all marketing events. You don't need a network. Like at a certain point, you have to look at the work you have in front of you. You've learned enough. Just go. Put your blinders on and go and figure it out. Yeah. And like that's what I try to preach to the team is just we're gonna figure it out no matter what. And so each day there's new obstacles that come out, but if you have that figure it out mindset, it'll get you through a lot. And I'm not dissing on networking, because that's so important in a lot of ways, but I think sometimes people can do it too much where you just got work to do. It's time to put your head down and go get it.
Going off of being around Blake, Jake, Brandon, all these guys, what's like one thing do you think has helped because of being around all these guys? They all do their own e-commerce or something in their own lanes, very young, passionate people. How do you think that's helped you today? And it doesn't even have to be business. It could be personal development. It could be pretty much anything.
Just people like doing similar things in the space, because it's hard, Like we'll have bad days where we spend more money than we make. Yep. It's just e-com is an up and down game. Having a reference, I think, especially with Movement. Like I remember when they were doing $1,000 a day in sales, because Blake would tell me, and I remember I used to think like that was so much at the time, like in sales, and now we're well over that, and just having that reference point to go off of and be like, all right, these are guys that did it. This is how they did it, and their business is much different than ours. There's some things I can emulate and copy, and some things I can't. Yeah. But just having that reference point of young guys doing it, like I can say I wouldn't be here without that reference point. And I think that's such a good lesson. Like if be curious and look for opportunities and look for people doing stuff. And if it interests you, like it's so easy to reach out to people.
Yeah.
DM.
I know.
Call, show up at their front doorstep.
Yeah.
Like be in front of people. Like you can find anyone. Like if you want to get in front of Jake at Movement, he would not want me to tell you this. You could go outside their office every day for 7 days and be like, hey, I need a conversation with you. At the 7 days, he's going to go in front of you.
He's going to say, what's up?
He's going to say, what
talk
up?
About?
But there's excuses of why they can't. And like, it's just so easy. It's like so much easier now than it's ever been to start a business.
Yeah.
That anyone, like I wake up every morning, I'm like, I can't believe I get to do this.
Yeah.
Like now I'm just so like after you have wins and you have small wins, like it gives you so much confidence to be like, damn, like in 2 years from now, let's go, baby. Like it's going to be like then you start thinking bigger too. Like, you know, before I used to think, all right, how do I do this small task? Now I'm thinking bigger. How do I make Cuts $1 billion brand?
Yeah.
How do I put a shirt on every athletic guy's back in the world?
These tasks that you are now focusing on, the one a day task, the tasks that you're looking at every single day were probably what you were looking at as one whole month.
Yeah.
So now it's like you're getting to that bigger piece of the pie, and now you can actually start doing these bigger things. And yeah, you know, it's crazy because like life feels bliss right now. Like it's literally Wednesday at 2 p.m. We're sitting here just shooting the shit, talking, and it feels good. But we both have been. It's taken a long time to get to this. It's taken a long time for you to get to this piece, and it's taken a long time for me to get to a studio to have been getting guests like you, like Blake, and all these other I keep telling people I'm in the e-commerce wave of the West Side. Of LA
you
right
are.
Now. I'm getting
You're
everybody
deep.
right now.
You're deep.
I'm getting everybody. But it's you just have to have that vision, and you just have to see it through. And the other thing is, me and you could talk about it all day long, but people have to really decide for themselves, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and they have to do it, because there's too many times I hear people preach about what the next big thing they're going to do, and I go, you're talking too much. Stop talking and execute. Yeah. Show people. Document, make a vlog series, show people the process you're going through, and let that speak loudly. I don't want to hear about what you're going to do. I want to see it. I want to actually see you take the steps, because there's a million people in this world that can talk about it, but only a very, very small percentage of them are actually going to like shut up and do it. Yeah. And those are the people that I truly are like the full of shit radar, right? Like that's when you know. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun too, though. Like getting to meet Brandon, getting to meet Jake, that wouldn't have happened without Cuts.
Yeah.
And like when you start something, you have something to give. Yeah. And I think
it's a talking point.
It's a talking point, and I have a lot of pride in it. Like now, I couldn't do another job unless the ball's in my hands with 2 seconds left. Yeah. Like, and I'm ready to shoot. Deep, baby. I'm shooting it. I gotta have that. Yeah. I gotta have that, and you know, I get excited because right now we're starting to make some headway. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but we got a good team, and it's gonna be fun. Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
If you had to write a book today, what would the title of it be?
Let me think about that. Write a book. What would the title be?
It's gonna be a New York Times bestseller.
So this is kind of a funny thing that I do. I don't think I've really ever shared this with people.
Please drop it.
And it may not make sense. This may not make sense a little bit, but I'm always giving myself acceptance speeches in 20 years from now. Like I'm always like I'll be in bed and I'll be on runs. Like when I was living at home, the song "Closer" was on by the Chainsmokers, and I put one song on. And it would be like the theme of the run, and I would almost like in my head envision what the acceptance speech at a Grammy ceremony would be for what my accomplishments would be. So I would say like, hey,
positive affirmations, right?
All day, and I always do that. Like, and so it's hard to even explain, but it's just something that I go to bed and say, hey, like, you know. I'm giving speeches to kids about, you know, how to make it and things I'm going to do. And I think like putting yourself and your future self can be like a powerful tool, because you're almost already there. Yeah. And you're just working towards it. Yeah. Opposed to like it being in the cloud.
You have to see it. You have to see it. Yeah. So what's the title of it?
The title.
I know you were kind of setting yourself up, but what would the title of the book be?
Shoot, the title of the book.
Be published today. It wouldn't be published in the future. Just how you're feeling today.
How I'm feeling today.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a tough one. My natural instinct is just title it the Stephen Borrelli, but that's not really motivating. Probably, figure it out. I'm trying to. That's not. I would have to think about that one.
Yeah. That's okay. Put that one.
Put that one.
Put it on the background.
In a year from now.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
We'll do a follow-up pod,
we'll write a book.
We'll go off of it then. No, that's good, man. I mean, there are certain questions that I do ask, and I'm curious to see what people have to say, but sometimes it's we'll come back on that question.
Yeah, we'll come back
on the round 2 of the podcast. Yeah. How about this? What is Steve's purpose?
I think
it's not cuts. It's not. Yeah. It's what is your purpose?
I think what. So I have 2 from a work standpoint and like long term.
Yep.
I just want to show other young entrepreneurs that like you can really follow your dreams, and you can accomplish things in life, and there's no one way to do things. Mm-hmm. I think just being that example to people, I think is big for me. Is really showing people, that if they want to do something, they could go about it, and kind of also show them there's so many people out there that claim to do that, but it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like I want to give it to them real. I want to show them how it is. I want to maintain a level of humility throughout it. Mm-hmm. I have a few mentors, a couple of my professor that's made millions, and they're just real dudes.
Yeah.
That have made it, and they always say, hey, there's no one way to do things. And I think that's a powerful thing for an entrepreneur to learn too, because some of your best avenues for success can be doing it a way no one's ever given you advice, just out of reaction.
Yeah.
And so just kind of being that voice.
Yeah.
And then my second one would be is my dad's been such a good example in my life, my parents, that I just want to have a good family one day.
Yeah.
Like be a rock in their life. I think my goal would be to sell cuts for millions of dollars, and then be a motivational speaker, but kind of like Gary Vee, where I'm not like too rah, where I'm more like, hey, get to work.
Yeah.
And then also just kind of be a dad. I think would be fun.
I mean, that could start sooner than you think. That doesn't even have to be at the sell of cuts. You could incorporate some of that type of stuff along the way.
For sure. What about you? What's yours?
Well, actually, so the next question after that would be, this is when I reverse the role. So I always allow my guests to ask me any one question. Could be about something we talked about today, something you want to know about me. The one thing I do say usually is it can't be a question that I asked you today, but I'll let that slide. If there's a question that I asked you today you want to use, ask me any one question you got.
What is something that no one knows about you that motivates you?
That's a great question.
Like, is there something that you wake up every day that gives you your edge? Like, what gives you your edge?
I mean, I've been trying to preach about it a lot lately, but I don't know if people really fully understand it. Like, I'm just obsessed with the idea of being great.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I get it.
It's like a weird thing, and I don't think that will be the answer for this question, because I don't think people fully understand.
I get it.
But I now, and I wasn't even having this feeling 6 months ago. I've always been I've been getting on the right track ever since I started the podcast. I've been trying to figure things out, but it was maybe even like the last 3 months. I'm getting, especially with moving to LA, it was that refresher. I'm in a new environment. I only know a handful of people. They're all very passionate people. I'm in a good circle. I'm not going to get pulled off the track to do stupid shit. Mm-hmm. I need to figure out myself. And ever since getting to LA, it's been this whole journey of even getting better with eating, even taking out my working out to like another level, paying attention to what I'm actually consuming on the internet, and now looking at that as like as almost its own, like unfollowing stuff that doesn't add to my life, and following purposely people that create that content that fires me up. Now starting the days off with listening to commencement speeches or motivational like YouTube videos that within the first 30 minutes of my day, I'm getting pounded in my ears about being great, about pushing through, about just putting it all on the line and believing in yourself. And then it sets me up for the day. You know, I'm prepping myself for the day, because now I look at, I want to be the greatest version of myself right now, but in the long play, I just want to be great. Like when you're talking about waking up or before you go to sleep, like you're just like imagining yourself like giving these speeches and helping and inspiring other people, you have to do that. And that's what I find myself doing, because then you're like, I'm already there.
Yeah.
But now I just have to just take those little baby steps to get there. And so I don't know how to exactly describe it to people. I just look at every decision that I make now on how is this going to help me become the best version of myself today? How can I operate in my full potential today? Making sure, like I said, eating the right foods, working out 5 to 6 times a week, taking care of my mental health, meditating has helped a lot. Just trying to get to that point.
Well, what I like about being great, if great's the goal, it changes everything you do in a day. Like if you want to be good, you'll do things to be good. And great, like I used the Kobe Bryant. He wanted to be the best in the world, and that was his to ever play.
Yeah.
So to be a good NBA player versus a best NBA player, he had to go to the next level in his morning routine, what he consumes.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I think about that too all the time. Is like, and that's what's so great about starting something is you're like when you want to be great, it just changes things.
Yeah.
It changes the way you approach things, because you're doing it to be the best possible version. So I get it is kind of hard to explain, and I might have not made sense there, but it does, you know, there's just all these different like reactions that happen from that goal.
And what it really comes down to too is then that greatness of achieving it comes through this right now, you know, like I'm pushing my own self to become great as Bobbbaaaay, the world's favorite bearded man, Bobby Hobart, whatever, all that.
Love it, baby.
But also I'm learning it through this podcast, because I'm getting to meet other people that are great, that are doing amazing things, you know? So that's, I think, something that people, I try to push it out there a lot through my content, but I don't think people fully understand that is literally on my mind when I wake up in the morning and pretty much throughout the day, so that by the time I even put my head down at night, I literally pass out within, I shit you not, probably 30 seconds, because I've just given all of my physical and mental energy into that day of being the best version of myself, of focusing on the small little tasks that are just baby steps, that by the time I put my head down, I'm excited to go to sleep, because I need a rest, I need to rejuvenate, and I need to get back up tomorrow morning, get back in the gym and get back to it. So the greatness, that's what I think a lot of people might not understand, but that shit fires me up. I just want to be great. I just want to be great. Closing questions. Where can people find you and Cuts on all social media?
At Stephen Borrelli personally. Cuts is at Cuts Clothing on Instagram, and www.cutsclothing.com on website.
Okay, we'll have all that linked up. People are gonna blow your Instagram with a bunch of bearded man emojis, so make sure you
love it. Let's do it.
Make sure you guys blow them up. Before I ask the last question, thank you for coming in. Let me just dap you up before we ask the last question. But I'm inspired by all of you guys on the west side of LA, absolutely crushing it, and I really like the product. This feels great. I feel like the ladies might be DMing me after they see this podcast.
So the DMs go live.
They
go live if you wear Cuts.
They go live. So I appreciate you coming in today and sharing your story, and hopefully and there are a lot of gems, little nuggets you were dropping that I think a lot of people are gonna be inspired by. And hopefully, if somebody's listening, I know I have a lot of people that are in the process or wanting to start their own clothing brand, or maybe they haven't done it yet. I'm hoping that this will be maybe the fire that will get them to actually start and keep moving forward. So thank you.
Love it.
Last question for you. What's the best 2 to 3 pieces of advice you'd give to somebody that's listening, doesn't have that passion figured out, doesn't have that purpose figured out just yet? What do you say they do?
So I think this question is always tough, because you know, there's a saying out there is like, do what you love. But if you don't necessarily, like for me, I wanted to be a basketball player growing up, or an athlete, but that quickly wasn't the realization. So then kind of in college, I was like, man, I got to figure out what I want to do. Like, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to. I think one of the main things is to be just curious and to put yourself out there and just try to, like, as a college student or as a young professional, go sit in with someone's job like one day, and you'll learn so much about if that's something you would want to do. I think is big. And then another piece of advice is, if I remember when I was done with school and I was kind of trying to find what I would do, I'd go to this place called Turquoise Coffee and just sit there on my computer and kind of research things. And I would be there for hours. And I remember like that time I really didn't have much to work on. And I was always leave there feeling kind of empty. Like, man, like when am I going to find what I want to do? And I would spend all this time. And now when I go through something, and I'm spending all day on something, 2-3 days, and I'm like just tired and exhausted, I look back to that period and I feel so grateful for the opportunity for what I have now. Like all the work that we have and how hard it is sometimes, I always say to myself, like, you asked for that, and what a blessing it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have been able to have that point of view if I didn't kind of go through that period of not knowing what like going through that period of the unknown. So like sometimes like when you're in that phase of just like trying to figure out what you want to do, just keep going. I know that, like, just keep moving, just keep trying to do something different. And then it'll fall in your lap, and before you know it, you'll be riding. But you'll need to rely on that post experience. Like I look through all the experiences I've had since where I am now, from moving to school, and kind of not knowing anyone, and what that's taught me about how to meet people, or doing jobs that I didn't like, what that's taught me. There's so many lessons that you're gonna need later in life. That if the struggle is there, like you're gonna need those struggles. Those struggles are exactly what's gonna help you get to where you want to go. So embrace it. Like now, when there's problems like with the team, or someone's maybe not doing what they need to do, I look at it like, I need that. Yeah. I need those experiences, and it inspires me to learn from them, because I'm like, hey, in 2 months from now, I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna be like, hey, I need this to figure out the next problem. Yeah. So it all builds. So just have that mindset of like, when a problem comes, fucking attack it. Like go after it, and know, like, this is here to help you.
Yeah.
So.
And just remember, let's go. And remember, let's go. Stephen Borrelli. Absolute pleasure, my man. Yeah. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it was
We'll
fun.
catch you guys next time. See ya.